Well. Before we get into the video, before we get into any introductions, before we talk about the week that was, the week that's coming up, how I want to use all my trades, how I probably have no more trades, I want to start the video off with one thing, one person, one immortal, a god amongst men, and that is Adam Dewey, 85. I'm going to touch on him more in the video as we go on. Who knows what comes up? That's how I want to start the video. Adam Dewey with an 85. That's it. That's all. Thanks for watching. Welcome in, everybody. My name is Mitch, and as you can see, I am riding solo tonight. Matty Thompson didn't want to jump on. He likes I think his roster is every second to third week or something. He didn't watch any football this week. He was actually out gambling and playing poker, whatever he was doing. I don't know. He won a lot of money. I'm going to ask him for some. Hopefully, he can shout me a feed or two. But welcome in, guys. We are finally out of the major and minor buy rounds. Thank goodness. Playing 13. To be honest, I've said it a few times in a few videos. I didn't know how much impact it would have throughout the season in the preseason when the rules actually came out, and it definitely lowered the skill gap, and that's fine. I've got no problem with that. But geez, it makes a hard watch. I just hopefully they change it for next year. They won't, and that's okay. I'm also asking and please. But we're done now. Back to playing 17 each week, and I am forever grateful. I'm so keen for the back end of this fantasy season. And like I said, round 19, I scored 759, which to be honest, I'm quite happy with actually. Like it's quite high. I was having through a look at the rankings and all the leagues I'm in, and yeah, there's a few scores a lot higher. Some a lot lower. I think the average of the week was about 720 from the top of my memory when I had a look at it. So 759. I had a few pods who did really well. Obviously, Britt Nickera in the first game, a trial of 61. Thank goodness I still own him. It's actually funny because I'm not contemplating selling him, but someone has to go this week in my team to facilitate some moves. And it might be him, which is a funny story, believe it or not. I had Celeste Fiketti's 54, which actually allowed me to not jump on Isaiah Yo. I reversed that trade. Obviously, last week I said that I was doing Jazz to Yo, and I reversed that when Fiketti scored 54. Absolutely brilliant. I missed out on guys like Kurt Donahue and Tallis Duncan, who, don't get me wrong, I've missed out on everybody. So to get on him and for him to make a little bit of cash, he's going to be my ticket to Haas in a few weeks. If I have any trades left, at that point, I don't think I will. The man, the myth, the legend, Adam Dewey. Again, Brenton Vickery from Talking League. I cannot believe I jumped on with him. 85, absolutely insane. I had no, envisions of taking his score. Before I even keep going on Adam Dewey, as you can see, Cleary is sitting here 64. I actually didn't take his score as well. I'll touch on that soon. Adam Dewey, he scored in the first 2 minutes of the game. Oh no, he had a try assist in the first like 2 minutes of the game. I thought interesting. I didn't plan on taking him. I actually messed up my loops and all that sort of stuff as well, which is a bit of a rookie mistake that I shouldn't be making. And then he scored a try right before half time, and he had a one-on-one steal. He was sitting on 36. And then we obviously had the news of Nathan Cleary on the bench. Is he playing? It was about their game kicked off at 4:05. So it was about 3:05. And I was just restarting the NRL app to see if he was named on the bench. When he was named on the bench, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to take his score. I don't want to have a bar of him. I don't know what he's going to do. And I was riding Dewey so hard. And then he went into the middle, and I was like, oh my God, what have I done to deserve this? I must have done something good in my previous life to have Adam Dewey in the middle. And then he scored the easiest try of his life, made about 20 tackles in the middle, was a weapon, and he scored 85. At the time, it was 79, and I was cheering. I nearly threw a party. I acted like the Broncos won the comp. That's how happy I was. And I took his score. To be honest, yeah, it hurt me a little bit with Cleary. When he scored that try, I was furious as well. I was filthy, because I obviously probably could have played Campbell in the wing fullback section, sorry, instead of one of these guys that had Cleary, but it is what it is. I left about 30 or so points on the table, which, probably would have put me into the 16, 1700 maybe. Maybe I'm reaching a little bit, but I'm on the climb. It was a good week. Obviously I had Eli Katoa. As you can see, I've got Jacob Carraz, who I didn't own. I actually brought him in, bringing in Connor Watson. And I'll actually touch on those trades last week. Obviously, I've made a few early moves this week, which we'll get into later in the video, depending on how long I can have a yarn for. And we've got some interesting trades here, and it's a bit Yeah, I don't even really know how to even explain this. I'll start off with last week's video. I was really keen on Dylan Edwards. I don't really know how, really keen I was, but, I brought him up and he was someone that kind of facilitated me in getting some of these other guys. Like obviously last week's video, I had Payne Haas, Isaiah Yo, all those big dogs, and they didn't play. So I had to fix my trades around. And originally, I had four planned for last week. So obviously, I had Jazz, Isaiah Yo in there. Pretty much this trade here I had last week, but with Fiketti, scoring really, really well. I reversed that. Happy days. I can pull the plug this week. I'm completely fine with getting Isaiah Yo this week. He's got like a 72 break even. Does play on the Friday night, which is a 5 day turnaround. So what's that? Three games of football in like, 10, 11, 12 days. So he may not play the full 80, but that's fine. I'm pulling the plug on him. And as you can see, the first trade here is Angus to Kai Pierce Paul. And now look, he scored 60 and he was averaging like 55. And I know that is, depending on who you ask, I know Jamie was giving me a hard time about it, but Jamie knows nothing about fantasy. What is that bloke on about? He was giving me a hard time, and I just needed the cash. So by this point, I actually wasn't playing Kai Pierce Paul. By this point, Britton Nikora had scored 61, and I was always going to play Eli Katoa over Kai Pierce Paul. So I had Kai Pierce Paul and Angus Crichton, and there was about 87, 88K price difference, and I really needed that money to facilitate some other trades that I wanted to do. Now, as you can see, obviously I had the Jazz to Isaiah Yo, so I had money there, but that was for that trade specifically. By this point, we knew Payne Haas was out. Dylan Edwards wasn't playing, but I was only getting Dylan Edwards to facilitate the Haas trade. So without the Haas trade, I thought, well, I don't need Dylan Edwards anymore. So I ended up switching that I went from Payne Haas and Dylan Edwards to Jacob Kiraz and Connor Watson, which I'm really, really happy with. Kiraz obviously had a pretty tough game, lost about 30K and had a base of like 35. He was actually a ghost out there for the Bulldogs, but luckily they've got Stephen Crichton coming back. So, hopefully he can throw some more offloads. I was really excited when his first touch of the ball, he threw an offload. I thought, yep, this is why I jumped on, and then did nothing for the rest of the game. So obviously, I was always selling Joe Tarpanay. I was always doing that. So if he comes out this week and kills it, it is what it is. And then Garrick, I was also always selling. Being back on the wing with Manly's really, really tricky draw. So long term, I'm really happy to own these three guys. Like I said, so I actually didn't end up playing Angus Crichton last week. I just needed the cash from that trade, which hindsight, I actually don't know if I did need 100%, but like I was already committed to it. I was taking Nikora 60 and then Eli Katoa scored like 80 or 77 or something. So I'm really happy with those trades. And obviously, hindsight this week with our man Dylan Lucas with a Liz Frank, the same injury of Kalen Ponga. He's out for the season. So buying Karaz last week was really handy because I need a center. Obviously, I've got Adam Dewey there, but you know, part of me is like, do I really want to play him? And the other part of me is like, of course I do. Like, he's Adam Dewey. He's literally the greatest man on the planet. Like, I might be the smartest man ever buying him a few weeks ago. He's made 120K. That was a joke. I'm actually not a what's the right word? Smart aleck. I'm just teasing. And that leaves us on to this week. Like I said, round 20, we have got our 8 trades back. And that's the thing too. Like today was the first Monday that I've had off in a while from work for whatever reason. And did they have the work experience kit on or something? Because lockout was not lifted until 4:30 p.m. like Sydney time, which is crazy. Obviously, they did have to give everybody their 8 trades back, which like thanks Fan Hub. All you degenerates out there who had no trades and they were waiting, you can trade again. I hope most of you go down to 4 and you spam 4. Obviously, we don't use the L word on this channel or on my video anyway. We don't say LAUNCH. You can say love, but you can't say launch. And that's it. Round 20. What trades do we do? How do we get the best team possible? I've already seen some screenshots. I've already seen people in the group chats in the WhatsApp, the Facebook Messenger, Discords, and their teams. There's some scary looking teams out there. Even teams that do own Payne Haas, they're in a really good position. And that's my goal. Obviously, I am doing the Jazz to Isaiah Yo trade. That's locked in. I'm like I said earlier, I'm not fussed about what Isaiah Yo's break even is. It was a little bit cheaper for me this time last week. Well, today rather than this time last week. Shout out to Jamie Brown, the creator, the owner of this YouTube channel who bought Yo for like a 39, lost 20 or 30K. Good job, mate. Why would you do that? That's another joke. I don't want to lose me gig. And obviously the other answer is Dylan Lucas, who is a trade out. Like I said, he has a Liz Frank injury. So you can pretty much go to anybody you want in the game. I had about 50K, 49K in the bank. So I'm going to Latrell. I was pretty much always going to Latrell. He was a target of mine, who I think is going to be the best wing fullback in the position. And as we know, wing fullbacks are tricky. For the past 10 or so weeks, I've been relying on Drinkwater as a staple in my back three with like Ruben Garrick. So just getting Latrell in really bolsters it. Obviously, Teddy's been killing it. Jaden Campbell was supposed to be the best wing fullback, and he had a really, really tough game, a bit of a base game, which 35, for your wing fullbacks, that's fine. And Latrell, like I think his past three game average is like 55. He's killing it. He's kicking 600 meters, really fantasy relevant game. He does play the Panthers this week, but I have a feeling that a lot of people are scared of that game, the draw. But I think Latrell is kind of fixture proof in a sense, similar to Isaiah Yeo when he plays the big minutes and Nathan Cleary and these guys, maybe not to the same degree, but just with Latrell's base, with goals, even if the Rabbitohs aren't that great, but just his in play kicking, he's averaging like 400 kick meters a game, which is just insane. So I'm going to be buying him personally. Luckily, last week I bought Jacob Carraz for that round. So he just swaps in for Dylan Lucas. I still don't have Herbie Farmworth, which like maybe we should touch on the 81. I mean, he's not Adam Dewey. Adam Dewey scored four more points than him. Thank goodness for that. But watching him play, I don't really know what he was on because I don't check the scores, but I think from what people were saying, he was on like low 50s, maybe 55. And at the price, like you happily take that. Even if he scores 60 at the price, like it is what it is, right? That's what you kind of pay for getting Herbie Farmworth. And then he scored a 28-point try or something ridiculous. And yeah, I put some holes in the wall. I had to go to Bunnings the next day so I could actually repair those holes in my walls. That's up for you guys to decipher if that was a joke or not. Maybe there's some holes in my bedroom room because Herbie Farmworth scored off a 14-meter pass. Shout out to those guys who owned Kurt Donahue as well, who had a tough game with like 20 negatives and then gets a try assist off a 16-meter forward pass. That was awesome. I'm still not actually buying Herbie Farmworth this year. I've just accepted the fact that it is what it is. I'm going to get into the top 1K without owning Herbie. And you're right. Shout out to the guy on last week's comment who was like, dude, just buy Herbie. Like, I know he's a center, but he's averaging like 63. And I said, you're right. I'm just not going to do it because I can't. Like, he's worth more money than Payne Haas right now, which is insane. Like, absolutely insane. It's definitely one for my review season of why I didn't get Herbie. Why was I so stubborn enough to just go, no, he's a center. I'm not paying that much for him. When you just don't look at the center tag, you look at what he's averaging. So it's a great life lesson. We always learn these lessons in fantasy. I've been playing for 7 or 8 years now, and this may go down as one of my most stubborn mistakes, although it's going to work one day. He's got the bye next week. Thank goodness that can't come fast enough. The Dolphins ruin my week every single weekend. So yeah, I've got 7 trades remaining. Obviously, we got the 8 back. I'm down to 7. I think 2, 3 weeks ago I had 7 plus the 8, so I'm using a fair few. And I'm going to let you in on another little secret. I want to use another one this week. There's someone else who I'm really, really keen on. Like I said, I'm definitely getting Yo. I'm definitely getting Latrell. Unless one of them are injured or they don't play, I'm not going to get them. I will be getting those guys in. They both play in the same game. Happy days. The other one that I want to jump on is Tino Iosefa. I was watching him really, really closely after the Adam Dewey score because there was a world where, sorry, after seeing the Adam Dewey score and seeing Tino, I was like, okay, Tino off the bench, if he scores like a 40, which he did in the last time he backed up, he scored like a 36 or something, then I could theoretically straight swap Adam Dewey for Tino this week, right now. And when Tino went off, he went off after his first stint with like 20 minutes to go. I thought, okay, here's my chance. Tino's done. Uh, I'll be able to afford it in my head. I'll be able to afford the swap next week, this like right now if I wanted to. And then he came back on, and in his first play against my Broncos, he had an offload, line break assist, and then had another offload. And I thought, great. I don't know what that's going to do to his price, what he's going to score. Scored a 50 in 50 minutes, really nice backing up. You'll take that if you jumped on. And as you can see, if I wanted to theoretically trade Adam Dewey right now, who's made 120K in the last 2 weeks or something. 71K on the weekend, insane. To Tino, I'm 7K short. So it is what it is. But taking that into account, I don't have Payne Haas yet. I think I want Payne Haas. Oh, wow, that's so controversial. Um, and if we take a closer look at Adam Dewey, he has a break even of 4. The Tigers play the Titans on Sunday, 2 p.m. at Leichhardt, or one of their home grounds, one of their 17 home grounds. Um, with a break even of 4, I'm going to hold on off on that. I obviously don't have Dylan Lucas anymore, so I don't need the center cover to kind of cover his bye in a few weeks. So I'm going to hold off on that. Tino actually has a break even of like 60, I think. Yep, 61. So theoretically, that's probably like 65, 66. So I'm going to wait a week on Adam Dewey. I won't be trading him, and hopefully he can, maybe the Tigers have like a Taylor May in the centers and they can move Dewey into that middle, or maybe in the middle of the game he can go into the middle because Dewey, like, I don't know if anybody else has watched the Tigers the last few weeks. He is their best player, well, besides Terrell May, of course. And it's not even close. So I think Benji wants to win games, and let me take my fantasy goggles off. Just put Dewey in the middle. Put Dewey at 5'8". Put Dewey wherever you want. And he is going to be the way that I get to Payne Haas. So I'll come back to Tino in a second because I think Payne Haas and, Cleary, Isaiah Yo, Latrell Mitchell, we want all these Origin guys, right? You really want to LAUNCH this week. You want to slam 4 trades, and I'm with you. So who do you kind of prioritize? And with Payne Haas, like I said, I'm not an analytical guy. I'm not a stats guy. He's a pretty good fantasy player, right? Like, let's just kind of let's pull the curtains back. Payne Haas is pretty good. You kind of want him in your side, right? So how do I get Payne Haas in? And the 2/3 people, which kind of makes my team really, really strong in the back end, it's Adam Dewey, Celestia Fiketti, and Latu Finu. And with those 3, that's going to allow me to get Payne Haas, a cash down, whether that's like a Talon De Silva, a Dallin Wateni-Zelezniak at 300K, however the money works out next week, because this isn't for this week. And then Celestia Fiketti, and see where he ends up next week. He's gone 45 into 54. There's a chance I even take his score this week and see where he ends up with a break even of 10. So with those 3 guys, it's going to allow me to get Payne Haas, a cash down, and then someone in no man's land. Whoever the best person is to fill that gap. And that will allow me to have Payne Haas, which will then allow my team to have like a Scott Drinkwater / like a DCE as like my 20th, as my 18th and 19th man, with Nathan Lawson, and then like the middling player, whoever I bring in, be like my 20th kind of thing. So yeah, it's pretty solid. I haven't really looked too much into the numbers because, like you said, that's what my plan is for Payne Haas next week. So let Fiketti make a little bit more cash. Hopefully Dewey can have another life game and just kill it. And then Latu Finu, whatever happens, right? But the other option's Tino. And I look at Tino at the price, and yeah, that's a steal. That might be, without having anything in front of me, the steal of the season. Price versus output versus what you're going to score / total points, whatever the number is, the saying goes, who bloody knows. And I really want Tino. And the 2 people in my team that I'm willing to, like, how do I get to Tino? And the 2 people that I'm looking at as kind of trade bait, sideways trade bait, don't know if it's a good idea, but this is what's going on in my mind, is DCE and Britton Nikora. So it's a bit of a tricky situation. I've got 7 trades. If I make another, it's down to 6. I need to get Payne Haas back, and to really just absolutely kill my final team and have just a team full of absolute weapons, I'll need to use another 3 with those 3 guys, which will put me down to 3. So yeah, it's pretty tricky. Jamie Brown says, "Oh my God, don't do that. Why would you do that? That's wild." He's got so much attitude lately in the DMs. Maybe he'll tell you about it on the video. He's a good bloke, though. He means well. But leaves me in a really sticky situation of how I don't need Tino this week. I don't need to do it. Like, that's the main thing. I have a really strong side. I don't have Payne Haas, so I don't have anybody on the bye. I'm looping with Nathan Lawson. Drinkwater plays the first game, so for the first time in like 10 weeks, I actually don't need to like play him and take his score when he plays really bad. If he comes out and scores like 60, that'll be really handy. Even like, you know, he'd probably have to score 50 for me to not want to play these other guys, which sounds a little bit silly, but it is what it is. So I don't need to pull the trigger. I brought Angus in last week, even him at the price. I kind of forgot to talk about him just because I didn't take his score last week. Really happy to own him. Uh, just a 53 in base, no offload. Sam Walker's back, so he's going to start looking good. He's going to be a really popular trade in this week, and I absolutely couldn't agree more. But Tino at the price, Tino for 6K more, I would absolutely buy Tino first before I buy Angus Crichton. He was at 640 last week, and I was keen on Isaiah Yeo first, just because Isaiah Yeo, like, I just know what he is. But now, I still am buying Isaiah Yeo. I still think I prefer Isaiah Yeo to Tino for the 100K more. Whether or not that's the right thing or not, it's just what I'm doing. But if I can sideways trade Nikora or DCE to Tino, is that much of like a numerical upgrade? Hopefully that's the correct word. And I think it is. I just have to decide which one. I've been a big Britain Nikora guy the last, however long, 10 weeks it feels like, which has been a good time, good banter on the videos with everybody talking about, I'm the only one with him. Um, he has a 3 round average of 55, which I really, really like. DCE, he's going to have a monster back end. So, is he going to retire? Is he not going to retire? He's definitely not playing for Manly. And DCE, he's like 39 or something. So he's like 36, 37, however old he is. I don't know. But typically DC has like a really big back end of the year where he averages like really, really good. That's just what he's been for the last five years or so. Not as much last year, so it's the Luke Brooks effect. Before last year, he'd always finished the year really, really highly. Um, so yeah, I don't really know which way I'm going to go. The Sharks still have a bye. There's a good chance, the smart thing to do is not do it, but that's so boring, and I really want Tino in my side. And when I have a gut feeling or a gut want, I should say, I need to do it because as you guys remember, if you've been watching my videos, since however long I've been doing them, 23, 4 weeks, I have been so keen. Oh, well, I was not anymore, but I was so keen on Jerome Hughes at like 540, 550K. He was getting so cheap, and everyone's like, we need to see something from him. We need to see something. And I'm like, I don't really need to see something from him. Like, I know what Jerome Hughes is. Like, similar to Nikora. I've rode his price back up to 612K. And Jerome Hughes was like 530K. And I didn't pull the trigger. I think it was a gut feel, whether or not, whatever the reason was. So I didn't do it. And now he's killing it, right? Like he's made 170K. He's just got like a 5 round average of like 60. Yeah, it's been insane. So that was a gut feel pick that I was kind of probably the first person that I know of was talking about him. Even when I was like, oh, I'm really like, I just should just buy him. And the smart people in the podcast world and other things like that were like, we just got to see something from him. He's got to give us like a 50 with no try, which is the right thing to do, right? Like that's the wise, rational thing. And now the people who jumped on are benefiting from that. So Tino, he still has a 60 break even. He plays the Tigers, who they have one forward in Terrell May. So we'll see if I pull the plug. I think I will. I just don't know who I'm going to do it with. It's a bit sideways. It would leave me down to 6, like I said. 3 next week to get Payne Haas. 3 trades from round 22 onwards. So that would leave 3 trades from 22 to 27. It's a bit risky, but like I said, I'd have a pretty stacked side. So yeah, I don't know if I'll do it or not. That's a joke. I will do it. I've just got to decide. So maybe you guys can help me. Maybe if you stayed to this part of the video, maybe give me your preference on who you think I should trade if I were to do it. Like if I were to do it, like wink, wink, I'm going to. Who would you trade to get to Tino? Nikora or DC? I haven't thought about it so much, more of the fact that I want to slash probably will, but I haven't gone as far as saying I should use him to get to Tino because the other guy gives me this. So I think that's where I might end it. I don't know really what else to talk about too much. I don't think it's a pretty exciting week. Like I said, everyone's got their trades again. So if you haven't had trades for a few weeks, 1 or 2 weeks, you've got them now, and everybody's back on the table, right? We're through the buy period, back to playing 17, and back to the one person per buy for the next few weeks. And that's actually, I don't have anybody on the buy, so I don't have any Broncos players, no Dolphins players because Like, I don't want to have fun, so I haven't owned Herbie. Herbie's the main one. A lot of teams have Herbie Katoa, which will be pretty tough because you're not going to want to be selling any of those guys. So that could be a really handy week for myself to kind of, LAUNCH up the ranks, and then Newcastle, obviously. So, um, yeah, Dylan Lucas. I sold KPP last week, so have a laugh at me about that. Like, there was a method to the madness. Whether or not it sounds a little silly when I get in front of a camera and say, "Hey guys, I traded him to him." So I traded KPP. It is what it is. Have a laugh, roast me. And then what's the team after that? The Tigers. So by then it'll just be Terrell May, like everybody. I won't have Adam Dewey, and I won't have Latu Finer, so I'll be down to the one. So yeah, I don't really have many buy plays over the next few weeks. So hopefully the fantasy gods can allow us to stay injury free, suspension free, and I'm looking to get into the top 1K. I'm looking to make 938 ranks in the next 6, 7 rounds. So it's pretty sad to say. I didn't think I'd be saying that at the start of the season. My goal at the start of the season was to actually win fantasy, believe it or not. So after finishing 21st last year, I wanted to win it. That was my goal, and don't think that goal is coming to fruition unless everybody above me falls off a cliff and doesn't play fantasy anymore. So I'm not praying for that, but that's kind of what I need. So I think I'll leave it there. Short and sweet today. I don't know how short and sweet. I don't even know if it's sweet, maybe just short. So yeah, let me know in the comments what you think about the Nikora slash DCE thing. If you guys actually stayed to that part or stayed to the end here where I just ramble because I don't know how to end the video by myself. I don't have Matty T here to kind of, conscientiously guide me to the end. It's just me and a camera. So if you've got this far, I appreciate it. Have a yarn with me in the comments. Tell me that you're going to launch and you're a gunslinger because I've banned those words for myself. And I'll see you next week, guys. Peace. Thanks for watching.